Hello and welcome to this edition of Wake and Bake News and happy 710. I'm your host, Shampoo VTA, and it's a little shady here outside. I have re-upped. Oh, I have the vanilla Kush this morning. And doesn't it smell amazing? We were playing Stoner Flex last night. I don't know if you can see that. And smoking upon this. Had a very nice time. Oops, we should get some out here. But for 710, I thought the first thing we would start out with is the Dabbuccino. Yesterday, I re-upped with my dispensary and I tried this liquid gold vape pen stuff. I don't know if you could see that. I also showed it last night on my video. We think maybe they used agave with this because it kind of has an interesting flavor to it. So we're staying over again at Nana's. We're going to do some cleanup and more cooking. I'm hoping to go back over to my dad's garden, get some more zucchini. Maybe, hopefully he's got some jalapenos in, because we made some amazing stuffed jalapenos with bacon. It was like fabulous. So we're hoping to go do that today and maybe get some exercise in. And hopefully I'll get another edition of Tower of the Blaze Dragon in, a cooking edition, so we'll see. Definitely planning to cook a lot of zucchini. I got a lot of zucchini to make for the family. We'll do one that's medicated. Nah, Tiki sounds unhappy in there. Dad must not be within view. Hard to tell it here if this is hot enough. Alright. Happy 710. Really interesting stuff. It definitely tastes like stuff that you would put in a vape pen or something. So let's load our bowl this morning. Woo! Definitely works. Very strong. Stuff that broken egg in there. Oops. Kind of dark out here under this awning thing. Gazebo. The best part of waking up. Marijuana in your bowl. Oh, my computer is lacking energy, so it's doing this beeping thing for some reason. Alright, let's get to the news. Well, it's going to be hard to read through this beeping. Gotta wait a second till it stops doing that. One of the plugs in the house doesn't work, so I plugged in my computer to that. Big mistake. Oop, and this mouse is not liking the surface. Woody doody. There we go. Get up this thing. And this thing back on the taskbar. Alrighty. Have a little bit of bagel. This bagel, jalapeno and cream cheese. Jalapeno and jack cheese with cream cheese. Mwah. Toasted. Got a slow connection here too. Alright. Bipartisan marijuana banking bill introduced in Senate. Reflecting growing public support for changing the nation's drug laws, a bipartisan group of senators on Thursday introduced the chamber's first bill that would legalize banking for recreational marijuana companies. Introduced by the Senate's delegation from Oregon to Colorado, two of the first states to legalize recreational marijuana, the bill would prohibit the federal government from penalizing banks that work with marijuana businesses. Though 4 states and the District of Columbia have legalized marijuana, the drug is still illegal under federal law. That makes it difficult for businesses operating in those legalized states to access financial services through the bank's industry. Instead, those companies have to run all cash operations that the senators say invite crime. The entire legal landscape that legal marijuana currently faces is insane, said GOP Senator Cory Gardner of Colorado in an interview. If you're an employee or a store owner, you can't put money in the bank, but or you can't put money in a bank. But if you're a municipal collector collecting tax, you can control the tax. You can put it in the bank if you can spend it. This is insane, Gardner said. It solves a public safety issue, it clarifies a regulatory nightmare, and it clears up a pretty blatant hypocrisy. Indeed, Congress has been extraordinarily hesitant to address the nettlesome issue of marijuana laws. Another landmark bill for the Senate from Rand Paul, Cory Booker, and Christine Gillibrand that would legalize medical marijuana in the states that have approved it has run into opposition from the Senate's old guard. But the upbeat Gardner notes that Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican Utah, now supports a bipartisan bill that would exclude cannabidiol, which has more medicinal use, from the definition of marijuana in federal law. He said Congress will come along eventually. Now, does it have a chance? I think there's a lot of work that has to be done to give it that chance. But I also think that in 10 years, most every other state in the country is going to be facing this question, Gardner said. People are coming on board and people are starting to realize we have policy that's kind of out of step. Very interesting. Next story. Oh, I'm talking to the camera, honey. I love you. It's okay. I had to wait for this thing to charge. I plugged it into the dead plug and forgot that one's the trick plug. Okay. Court rules in favor of workers in medical marijuana case. The New Mexico Court of Appeals has ruled in favor of an injured worker in a medical marijuana case. The Santa Fe, New Mexico reports. The recent decision marks the third time in a year the court has sided with a medical marijuana patient in a workers' compensation claim. According to the ruling, oops, we're gonna have commercial. Commercial is blocking things. Okay, according to the ruling, uh, issued in late June.
There's only one South Texas.
Okay, according to the ruling issued in late June, a patient in the medical marijuana program who is injured on the job must be reimbursed by an employer for the expense of marijuana used for treatment. So, in other words, the employer must pay for the employee's medical marijuana if he's injured on the job and is requiring the use of medical marijuana. Appellate Judge James Welcher wrote that a workers' compensation judge was correct in ruling that American General Media, which owns several radio stations in New Mexico, had to reimburse Sandra Lewis of Albuquerque. The company had argued that the state's medical marijuana laws created a conflict with the federal law. So they ruled in favor of the worker. That's pretty awesome there. Oh, yes. Okay, so I'll link to this story and make a note to myself about Trippin With Leigh. But apparently, Trippin With Leigh is going to happen on SwearNet. And so it is, they are going to do this documentary where he's going to go to, I think he said Peru, and meet with a shaman and have this experience. So people will be able to watch that, and hopefully he will be safe and everything will be okay. He seems like a really super experienced person that's willing to try things and let other people go along for the journey, but he's also had a stroke. So it's a little scary for him to do this to me, but hopefully he's safe. And he did some paintings already on LSD, and he's auctioned them off to try to raise money for this documentary about psychedelics and stuff. And like I said, I don't necessarily promote that, but I think it's important for people to see what it's like to be, so they get an idea and it's not a big mystery, some magical thing nobody knows about. You see drunk people, you decide for yourself. Oh, I don't like that, or I like that. Oh, yes. And I'll promote my own video, which is how the Blaze Dragon last night I did, and we played Stoner Flux, which was super fun. And there's also Star Flux, and there's also Zombie Flux. So there's a whole bunch of these different card games that you can sit around and play with your family. And it's good. The other one I really like is Cards Against Humanity. It's just funny. It makes everybody laugh. And it's good family time. Will Wheaton, from Star Trek. He's the one that started all these kids on playing cards. I thought it was so funny to see all these kids playing cards like my grandparents used to do, but the card games are so much fun. My grandparents would have loved this stuff. Okay. On the marijuana show, its cannabis companies meet Shark Tank with $10 million at stake. 200 applicants in just 2 weeks came flooding in when Wendy Robbins and Karen Paul put the call out for marijuana entrepreneurs. They went jumping all over the place. Interested in entering their internet TV business competition. The marijuana show, most were very small entrepreneurs who just in the idea stage, Robbins said. Small entrepreneurs. Oh my gosh, there's so much stuff jumping in my face. Okay, small entrepreneurs or just in the idea stage, Robbins said. The wide variety of concepts include a cannabis country club, a line of hemp butter products, and a marijuana delivery phone app. We couldn't believe the amount of interest, said Robbins. The marijuana show. So it's going to be like a TV show. I heard there also might be one about their movie theater they have in Colorado where they watch movies and partake. I thought that sounded really funny, actually. The 200 entrepreneurs were whittled down to 22 based on their business viability, uh, scalability, founder personality, and potential interest to a viewer audience. To make it to the next round, each was given a specific challenge. One was told to raise 5,000 in seed money, investment money, not cash, for cannabis seeds. Another was asked to call on 100 marijuana retailers to sell them her product, while a third was told to do three things on her bucket list to get her motivated to keep achieving things. Some were business challenges and some were emotional challenges, said Paul, because running an enterprise manifests both. Well, anyway, so there's this show that's going to come on, and I won't read the whole story because you should link to it and avoid their stupid commercials, but give them your eyeballs because they are writing these stories. Forbes is actually doing things that look supportive, so we need to support back. Plus, what a great image! I thought that was really neat. Great imagery, hilarious imagery. What are we doing? Editorial. This is Pagosa Daily Post. Pagosa Daily Post, online community magazine for Pagosa Springs, Colorado. Editorial, doing our best to stifle a growing business, Part 3. One thing I appreciate about the Agriculture Board Community Commissioner hearing on Tuesday, July 7th, county staff has printed up numerous red-line copies of the proposed marijuana regulations. The entire 34-page document with amendments shown in red text, and County Attorney Todd Starr distributed copies to everyone in the audience prior to the beginning of his hearing presentation. The audience included the owners of two existing marijuana retailers, Bill Delaney of Good Earth Meds and Jason Reber of Pagosa Organic Therapeutics, who would later thank BOCC for their hard work in developing the local marijuana regulations. Most of the proposed amendments to the regulations were minor. The controversial piece concerned retail operations premises cultivation license. In a new addition to the regulation, when a BOCC passed their original version of the regulations last year, they required retail marijuana stores to grow 70% of their product. They were sold within the same building, okay, where they conducted their sale. Okay, they referred to this rule as vertical integration. In other words, they had to grow 70% of the product that they were selling in that same location. What? Yeah. So here they show a dude from Walmart. How may I help you? Okay, so to put it into a certain perspective, this is roughly comparable to requiring a liquor store to operate a distillery or a winery in the back room of their shop, or distill 70% of the spirits they sold, or
for an even more outrageous comparison, requiring Walmart to manufacture 70% of their product they sell, which is like ridiculous. Nobody does that. Within their store footprint, not many normal retail stores would choose to locate in Pecos Springs under such erroneous, I guess, or onerous, requirements. But the budding marijuana industry is still willing to tolerate um, audacious laws. The support of this slightly outrageous requirement among the agriculture commissioners defended the on-site growing rules by asserting that it would encourage local manufacturers within Pecos' marijuana trade while keeping the manufacturing price tightly confined and out of the sight of innocent children. What the BOCC has not fully considered is how such operations rules affects the price and availability of the commodity, and that in their attempt to promote economic activity, they are actually creating rules that stifle it. The retail landscape changed earlier this summer, however, when the town of Pecos Springs voted to allow marijuana sales within its town limits. After maintaining an anti-marijuana moratorium for several years, the town council's regulations, which go into effect on September 1st, will allow in-town retailers to sell marijuana that has been grown off-premise, but it requires that 70% of their product be grown within agricultural county. Okay, I'm sorry. Archuleta County. I don't know what that must be, someplace in Colorado. Okay, so I won't finish this all off, but the idea is that they want to pass this law that says, or this requirement that says that individual dispensaries have to have like a giant grow room in the back, out of the sight of children. And how do you do that when you're trying to be on Main Street where the tourists can see you and make a living, like these wine tasting places? It's kind of not fair. I thought this was a good headline. Charges dropped for black man whose home was illegally searched by BSO. Okay, this is Palm Beach News Times. Over a year ago, we clued you into a strange case of he said, she said involving a homeowner and a BSO deputy in North Lauderdale. This week, the charges were dropped involving the case after nearly 2 years of wheel spinning and hair pulling. In December 2013, Valerie Joyce, a Northern Lauderdale mother of two, got a call from a neighbor while she was at work. A police officer was inside her home. Joyce ran home to find a BSO deputy walking out of her front door with her 26-year-old son, Jonathan's keys in his hand. Joyce's son had just been arrested, she learned from our original house. Around 12:30 that day, the deputy had pulled over a green Volkswagen on nearby South 8 Boulevard. After watching the car blow through a stop sign, the cabin reeked of weed. Dodge's arrest report later stated the driver, Carlos Edward, and the passenger, Jonathan Joyce, both appeared to have green weedy crumbs around their mouths. They eventually both admitted to eating marijuana, and the deputy charged them both with tampering and destroying physical evidence. The deputies also found 5 cocaine rocks in Edward's center console. But the report does not include anything about what deputies told Joyce happened. What the deputies told Joyce happened next. Okay, Jonathan supposedly gave the deputies as house keys, allowing the deputies to freely reign to drive over and search for drugs inside the home. The cops admitted he had no warrant, Joyce says. Shocked that law enforcement would go into her house without permission or warrant, Joyce declined to let the deputies
for everything.
back inside.
Big
Uh-oh. How do we stop
yeah.
this? I'll be
But
able
lives
to stop this horrible noise in 9 seconds. Ah.
more
Oh my gosh.
and make your best memories on a 500 degrees sizzling plate. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. This is how it's done.
No one cares about your steakhouse, man. That was so annoying. Okay, let's see. It's good that they finally did the right thing, says public defender Howard Finkelstein, referring to the state attorney. What is frustrating is they've done the wrong thing for so long, and it's been done at great cost, not just to my client, but to my office and the state attorney. The bottom line here is, at the very worst, you have a young black man with a misdemeanor amount of marijuana, he says. Or at the very least, okay? At the very worst, okay? But at the worst, you have a police lying and burglarizing and committing perjury. There's no way they would stop my children or myself, take our keys, and go into my house. That these officers felt emboldened to do so is exactly why minorities fear the police. I wonder when we're going to see pictures when they must go on and try clothes on and stuff. What if it's like a rich person's house? Like maids, they probably try clothes on and eat the food, go to the refrigerator. Like that scene from Soylent Green where he eats the strawberries in the rich guy's house after he's been murdered. Legalizing marijuana was for the best, says Washington State County Sheriff. Sheriff says it's time for police and politicians to listen to the people of British Columbia. Seattle's first legal recreational marijuana store opened 1 year ago today. Over that time, there have been more than $250 million in cannabis sales and more than $70 million generated in taxes for local state governments. The legalization of recreational pot meant a significant change for the state police approach towards the drug. King County Sheriff John Wkae spoke with the early edition Rick Clough about the impact of that decision. You are the sheriff for Washington's biggest county. What were the biggest challenges you and your officers faced in adapting to marijuana as a new legalized substance? Really, there was nothing to adapt to. My biggest challenge was letting my officers know that it is a different ballgame now. Don't worry about it. From a crime standpoint, there was nothing to enforce anymore, and the sky didn't fall. It was business as usual and no big deal. One of the biggest concerns about legalization here in Vancouver and in Canada is that it might lead to increased youth access to marijuana. How closely were your forces watching that? That just hasn't happened. All the studies that have been done show marijuana use in Washington state is down. With the tax revenue coming in, we'll be able to devote some of that money to education. The legalization has not increased the use of marijuana use amongst youth. What were your expectations as this law changed. I was the only police chief in Washington state to actually support the legalization of marijuana. I was a drug enforcement officer and arrested lots of people for every single drug imaginable and took them to jail. What I learned about that time was that the war on drugs hasn't worked. More than that, it's been an abject failure. The citizens of the state of Washington decided they wanted to legalize marijuana. The citizens have spoken, and it's time for us, the police, to listen. Recreational marijuana is still illegal at a federal level in the United States. Did you come into any conflict with the federal law enforcement officials? No open conflict. The federal government, though, through the Department of Justice, has said we don't really like this, but we see the handwriting on the wall, and as long as you do certain things, we will keep hands off. Those things are making sure marijuana isn't sold to young people under 21, that we shut down shops that aren't licensed, and that we enforce DUI statutes. What advice would you have for law officials and politicians in Canada who may be considered about what the legalization of recreational marijuana might mean? Listen to the people of British Columbia. Usually, they're smarter than the politicians and the cops. Make your views known, but don't give the attitude of we're the cops. You're not. So don't tell us how to do our jobs. That's a situation that's occurred with police officers forever, and that's got to change. Just listen. It'll be fine. This interview was edited and condensed. To hear the full interview, click on the audio labeled Sheriff Reacts to 1 year since marijuana legalization in Washington state. Da, 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 da. I like this story. I thought this was good. This is from Hot Tea. I remember when I was scared to even go to websites that look like this. It would be like, oh no, the FBI will watch me. Okay. Heady hikes. The first head out. Hot tea. It's the hike for those who absolutely love dabs, heady glass, and most importantly, nature. We want to bring together everyone from our amazing community, and we notice that a lot of people want to enjoy nature, but want to be able to meditate efficiently and safely during the hike. With Heady hikes, we teach proper safety procedures and dab techniques during hikes to ensure safety of all people and to be able to have an amazing time with nature and to enjoy themselves as they meditate. We taught Heady the glass, the dab, the hike, the group, and the nature is glorious for the hikers who seek pure enjoyment with self, others, and nature. We had an amazing time at Lynn Canyon. It was indeed one of the best meetups in nature anyone has had in a while. We found an amazing spot called Bedrock down at the headwaters, which consisted of a stream flowing through rocks and around the group. We all had a deep connection to nature at this visit, and we certainly came out in bliss. This was our first hike, and there is more to come. These hikes are made possible by our proud sponsors, 3 Happy Cats, Con Selections, and Canadian Concentrates Open. I was like, oh, fucking right on. That's what I'm talking about. The hikes are vibes. Tell me what stoner doesn't love camping. Or at least they should. I love camping. What did you find? You bring out that old camera? Go show it to the camera. Oh, okay. So anyway, food. Give me a second. So happy Friday. Happy 7/10. Have a great weekend. Everybody at the Chalice Festival, enjoy yourselves. I'm really looking forward to seeing videos from that. And I also understand Trippin Daily is going to be going. Oh, wow. Is your dad's old camera? Holy shit. Look at that thing, man.
Polaroid, Instamatic.
This is an Instamatic? Wow. Wow. That's crazy. I take you a picture. YouTube, I take you a picture. $5. Oh, that's cool, man. All right.
That's what chemistry.
This is compact. Wow. This is compact right there. Holy shoot, it's heavy. Okay. So I was going to say, so, stoners, so you guys stay high and goodbye and happy Friday, happy 7/10. Can't wait to see videos from the Chalice Cup. Wish we could go. I hear Token Daily's going. Can't wait to see his videos. He's coming all the way out from Colorado. Adios.